Namaste, this is Ayesha, and in this video I basically wanted to speak about what is next for this world. Now, unlike my other prediction videos that you see in my YouTube channel, this is going to be a little different because this would not be necessarily speaking about global events, but more so for each individual, for most of us, and I truly believe it would be pretty much for all of us, because I don't believe in, a certain amount of people being treated any better than others unless they have made a solid effort to do what is necessary for their own spiritual growth along the way. So today, as I said, I would be speaking about what is next for this world. Now, last year I did speak and predict a lot about the changes that would occur in this world, and so have I for this year as well. So if you've been following my videos on my YouTube channel, you would be able to have noticed all the changes and the ascension signs, a lot of videos that I've put out there to help you understand what is really happening with the shifts of this world, and particularly in this area of the entire universe. So this is going to be something that you can expect to have a phenomenal effect on you as an individual as well, and not just on a global level. While we go through this shift as a civilization, each one of us will also be pushed forward into understanding and building ourselves up for the changes that will come ahead for us. Now, depending on how receptive you are, or how much of time and patience and your own evolution level, obviously, and depending on all of that, your pace and your the intensity behind your spiritual growth will also be affected by it. So for instance, if you're listening to this video and have no idea what I'm talking about, then you will move on to the next level, which is of understanding, which is of trying to comprehend or process this in the best way possible for your journey here. So it would not necessarily mean that everybody would be on the same level of evolution just because we are all going through the shift simultaneously. So each one of us grows differently based on our understanding, on our evolution, on our individual missions here, and so on and so forth. So I feel that it is going to take a little more in-depth understanding of the situation before we proceed. Now, the first thing that I particularly would like to talk about is how this world is going through not just a physical shift, but a heavily metaphysical shift, where the realms, particularly the realm which is directly overlapping ours, which is the astral plane, as we know, or the spirit world. Now, anything outside of our physical dimension is obviously called a spirit world, and so I also want to address the fact that there are many levels to it, many different dimensions, and I'm talking about the one which we refer to as the astral plane, which is directly overlapping ours. And the veil has been thinning for quite a while, the veil between realms. Now, so this means that a lot of us, even those who have been able to see and sense spirits for a while, would notice an elevation in their spiritual senses. As in, you can either feel the frequency has increased, or the level of density that you can actually feel or sense has increased in the last 1 year or so. Now, for those who have not had any kind of supernatural experiences so far in your life, you will most likely start to feel them or have already begun experiencing them, and you need not be startled by it. It's not something that is exclusively for you, but it's pretty much that the entire veil between these two worlds are thinning to a great extent and will continue to do so until the veil ceases to exist. Now, this does not mean there's anything to be startled about, or it's not going to be as dramatic as it sounds. So when the veil is lifted, it'll be a gradual process, and this gradual process is supported by the higher realms, is supported by our higher selves, our souls. We have always known these things are to come, and we have volunteered to be here in these times to be a part of this entire process. And so therefore, what can we expect in the years to come? All right. Now, if you've been following my videos, I did say that, basically our world does not have much longer to go. And I do not have to stress this enough. It is obvious, whether you are seeing these through eyes of fear or doubt or anger, or however you wish to perceive the events that are going on in our world, they still will continue to happen because they're meant to happen. So it's not like anything can be done to shift it, because this is how the events have to unravel in this dimension from now on, and whether we like it or not, it's still going to happen. And it is no longer just a bunch of predictions from psychics or mediums. It's no longer my imagination or something that a bunch of elite spiritualists can put together in a particular ritual and claim this whole thing is just going to vanish. No, it won't vanish. You can sit around and wait all you want if you choose to. But these are things that I feel that not only is exclusively revealed to me, but to a lot of people out there, even those who are not awakened, have become aware of the events that are yet to come. So personally, I have had visions of things to come for a while now, and these were not by choice. Most of them are recurrent dreams that have, I would say, continued for months, years. And I've always wondered where this was leading me. Was this going to be a literally interpreted dream, or is this going to be something that I have to work on myself? So, because these dreams started even before 2020 happened, so our world was, well, so-called normal at that point of time, and everything seemed fine to a great extent, as according to our world, humanity. And then things started changing, and I started to see more of what I was seeing my visions come true. And after a point, I figured that, I was conflicted over whether I should start talking about predictions or not. So my last few videos about predictions on a global scale was mostly to help people to understand what's going on and not to inflict fear or anger. Now this video here, what is next for the world, as I said, is going to be something that affects each one of us in a different way. Because you see, as the times roll forward and our world will start to purge a lot of things, in a way, if you look at it in a materialistic point of view, it would look like almost like we're going backwards. We're evolving backwards. Some of us will be pushed so far suddenly that you find yourself maybe 10 lifetimes away, and you will feel more connected to those times. You will feel heavily drawn to either civilizations or memories or cultures that were ancient and still remain so. And I feel that we should not at these times dismiss any of such visions, any of such urges, because that is what we need to hold on to when we move forward in the shift. Now, many of us will be feeling all kinds of, how do I say it, intimidating situations, conflicting situations. We will feel pushed more than ever to let go of a lot of things which is associated with the modern world. And this may mean our ways of thinking in relation to goals and professions and relationships and even technology, we will feel more distanced from the modern world. And this would become more and more prevalent amongst a lot of communities, even people outside of these spiritual communities. They would feel like, the more you start to pay attention to what is happening around you, the more you would want to distance yourself from it, because it feels like some kind of self-defense. You want to defend yourself, you want to protect yourself, and you feel that the best way to do so is to go back into a time where it's much more simpler, where life was simpler. And so a lot of people would step away from social media, the internet, wherever possible, unless, of course, like me, your entire business or work is associated with the internet, then you try to limit yourself to whatever circumstances you're in and prefer to stay away otherwise. The other thing that I also foresee is that people would start to align more with their missions. Like it will be on more a need basis than want basis. So don't be surprised if you find yourself going deeper and deeper into, doing what is necessary and feeling that you're pulled away from your initial goals or your initial dreams, what you've been planning for maybe years or whatsoever. You feel like you're being drawn back into a state of mental lethargy, but it's actually not that. It's just that you're being drawn back to a simpler phase of life, a simpler way of thinking, as you were many lifetimes ago. So why is this necessary? Now let me tell you this. Most of us are very old souls, and as old souls, you see, like, even though we have had many incarnations, which has probably happened over several eras around the world, now, even though that has happened, one thing that we must remember is that we are still the same souls that we were deep inside. We still have these spiritual memory imprints in us, which come from way back. And at a time when things just start to get very claustrophobic in this world, emotionally, energy-wise, you want to shed all of this extra clutter that you've accumulated over lifetimes of, materialism and whatsoever. You want to go back into the times when you didn't need any of this, where simplicity ruled. So necessity being the mother of invention, our higher selves will draw us strongly back to where we didn't need a lot of things, which will soon be a deprivation. All right, a deprivation, and we will need to learn how to live with that deprivation. And many of us will step away from what we know as a normal life. As we have started seeing since 2020, we've slowly started moving backwards. Some of us have gotten used to not having to travel to and from the office. Our children are studying from home, and we have started to adjust to that new form of life, and this has become the new normal. We've started accepting it, you see. So our civilization is pretty flexible, more flexible than we would like to admit. And that is where these frustrations did arise. When all of this started moving forward, there were people who refused to move with the times. And when that happened, that is when we're still facing a lot of objections, a lot of people who are not going with the flow of the universe, but rather think, you just have to get out there and fight every single thing, every single change, even if it's something that is of a higher power that is outside of our realm, we still have to fight it, because they refuse to let go of the attachments that they're so used to. So at any point of time, you will realize that the shifts that are coming up will require, even if it means cornering you, even if it means pushing you to a space where you have no options, you will realize that you'll need to drop a lot of your baggages, burn those bridges, to be able to move forward in grace, to be able to move forward with healing, to be able to move forward as the light being that you've always been, before any of these drama happened of this world for you. So you may be drawn to your roots, and I'm not talking about the roots of this generation, I'm talking about the roots of your soul, your dimension. You know, you may be coming from an aquatic dimension, you may have been coming from a reptilian dimension. There are thousands of dimensions out there, and we come from many of them. You know, it's not just a handful, but many dimensions. And so you will feel that you're being drawn more to those times. You're being drawn to those lands. And the only thing that I may or may not be concerned about, because I feel like at the end of the day, everything happens for a divine purpose and in a divine order. And I feel that many beings who are far more evolved would want to actually even think of exiting, because you feel like your vibration can no longer be contained in your shell. Now, this is not something unusual, all right? This is not something unusual, though when someone like me, as I have been revealing a little bit here and there, like my intentions for Samadhi and Mahasamadhi, which I've been working on for quite some time, when these things are said, it causes a lot of confusion and fear in people. You know, you because it's thought of as something similar to suicide. Well, suicide is something where people do out of anger or fear, emotions that do not come in peace. But in the case of a yogi, where he or she wants to attain Mahasamadhi, a mukti, a level that is known as enlightenment, and to step out into the consciousness of the universe instead of containing oneself in the shell. When one feels one is ready, they want to let go. And that is nothing to do with suicide. That is a decision peacefully made by a soul. And we all have been blessed with the free will to attain enlightenment, to move forward and accept it as the highest form of our being. And so a lot of us will thrive to getting hold of that core, that essence of enlightenment, that essence of moving forward and becoming something far greater, or going back to your highest power. And this would become necessary because we will start to, you know, feel suffocated, especially if you are a more evolved soul. You start to feel suffocated as the energy of the ships start to contract. It'd be like a birthing process where it starts to purge and push the baby out of the womb. Now, this does not mean another physical world would start to manifest out of nowhere, boop, and it's over there. No, it's not going to happen that way. It does not. It's just that we're being purged into a higher level of consciousness, which will require that we no longer exist in this 3D world, but move on to a 5D consciousness, which is only available in the astral plane and up. So to attain that, it does not have to be through death. It becomes a reality for many of us to walk through portals, to have a heightened sense of awareness, and be able to even attain samadhi, even if it's a different format, because each journey is different, each path is different, each belief system of every dimension, of every origin is different. So there's so many ways of leaving. Death is actually something that can be easily explained. If you look at it from a metaphysical point of view, when a mission has been accomplished, and when the vibration of a particular soul has reached beyond the capacity of what can be contained in the shell, in the body, that's when it is expelled. And since there's a lot of hesitation, mostly generally by most people, to leave at will, it becomes something that has to happen naturally. So through death of sickness or old age or whatever you might call it, eventually something happens that helps them to expel themselves from the body and move forward to the next level. So what I'm trying to say is, each one of us, whether you are going to feel enlightened or not by the whole experience, you will still be drawn out of the personality, out of the attachments, out of a lot of things which would not be easy. You would feel like you're purging a lot of things simultaneously. It seems like a never-ending journey, but it is going to lead us to the best space within as possible. So allow yourself to experience this without, conflicting too much within yourself, because that is what I see would be a far more peaceful way of moving along with this vibration as we proceed from here. So my most humble request would be to allow this shift to happen for you. You need not compare it with anyone else's journey. You need not be worried or scared or angry about the shifts. That is not the responses of your higher self. That is the response of your mind, of your ego. So you need to address and be able to discern the differences between each and move forward in grace. Your spirit guides, your guardian angel, your ancestors, your gods and goddesses, everyone are contributing and being very supportive of the entire nature of this shift, and understanding that this will not be easy for most of us, but we will still move forward because we signed up to be here. So do not be afraid or or think that we are running out of options in this world. The world per se is in the process of evolving itself, and we as a generation have been here through one of the most complex phases of its evolution, and it is time for us to gracefully, graciously move out without making too much of a fuss. And I am very sure that most of us will be led through by spirit in the most beautiful, enchanting way if we only trust the process. And the process is the best you would have ever taken yourself through in not just this lifetime, but in many lifetimes. Those of you who have experienced something like Atlantis before would be able to associate and resonate more with what is coming up than most people. So with my humble request that this message be taken deep into your soul, into your higher self, and processed as we face the times ahead, it is going to be a magnificent journey. It is going to be the most magical pursuit we have taken in our lifetimes, to step forward and walk into a realm which we all call home, or the pathway to our homes. So it is going to be amazing, and I would like to humbly request that each one of us participates in this as spirit more than through the mind, through the ego, because it makes it much simpler for you, and we're not going to leave anyone out. I am sure that you would also start to experience a lot of supernatural experiences from as early as September, which has already begun, and I feel that this will escalate further. I would like to also add on to the fact that there are beings from other dimensions that they refer to as UFOs and all of that still around, and these sightings will increase, the confrontations will also increase. So it will be very interesting times ahead for all of us. And I can only request that, we take this all gracefully and process this as maturely as possible with the ancient wisdom that we all contain inside, and not the fleeting, superfluous energy that this world otherwise seems to be floating in right now. Thank you so much. Have a very, very beautiful journey ahead. Namaste.